The song "Climb the Mountain" is actually a song that I wrote many years ago. We first produced it in about 2007, actually. And it's had a number of stories that have been attached to it. In fact, probably the one that was for a long time. We wrote the song, recorded it, and then we're looking for album cover art. And a family lost a son in a mountain climbing accident. And they sent a picture of Ian Mack as he was climbing in all of his mountain gear, pointing where to go on the mountain. It just became really kind of the logo for the Climb the Mountain Ministries. In more recent years, where it actually started was a Bible study for a youth group. I was trying to help them understand how the Christian life isn't just that if you do this, it's all linear. You know, it just keeps getting better. That's not how that goes, is it? There are ups and there are downs and there are valleys so deep we don't think we can ever get out of them, and there are mountaintop moments that you just are like, this has got to be heaven, you know. And yet I had never climbed a mountain. And when I wrote that song, I just seen pictures in National Geographic and, you know, the videos and stuff. Well, a couple years ago, my family and I were able to, we saved all of the money that came out of the COVID money, basically, and we took a vacation because we were supposed to put it back into the economy. So we said, well, we're just going to do a vacation that we could never afford to do. And so we went out to Washington State. And as part of that, we were able to go and climb one of the trails of Mount Rainier. Not all the way to the summit, but it's a beautiful trip. And so I'm just going to have you kind of pace through them. So that's Mount Rainier, one of the largest heights. And this is what part of it looks like. You see how green it is? Did you all know, like Mountain Fresh? Did you ever see that? Like it's on air fresheners and it's in laundry detergent. Mountain Fresh. I just thought that was marketing. It turns out that there's actually Mountain Fresh. Like all of these mountain flowers were in bloom. This is the end of July, and the smell of melting snow and fresh water, and I was blown away. Like there really is such a thing as Mountain Fresh. But that's kind of what it looked like, and it was going well until we got to this particular part right here. A whole bunch of you said, why did you say that? What did you say? What did you think when you saw that?
There's no guardrail.
What's that?
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. No guardrail.
No guardrail.
All right. So we've been walking. My wife, my 3 kids, they were all ahead. And the rule was, if you haven't seen us in 15 minutes, you all need to stop and wait for us. And if you still haven't seen us, you better come back. We are on a mountain, after all. And I knew my wife was afraid of heights, but I had forgotten that. She was doing really good. I mean, it was an arduous climb to get up to this point already. I mean, some of the paved trail was just 45-degree angle. But we've been doing well until we got to this point. I was walking and all of a sudden I realized my wife wasn't with me. And when I turned around, she was quite a ways back. And when I came back to her, she was frozen in fear to the spot and just said, I can't do this. She was in tears. Because when you look at that, that looks pretty scary. Literally on the other side, when you get to the top of that, that's about a 100-foot drop, and there is no guardrail, and it's all rocks, and you can't see the ground on the other side. And she was overcome with the fear. This is halfway, by the way, you know, and our goal is to get to the top of this pass, this high mountain trail, and it's now looking. It's like, look, I don't want to walk back the way that we just came. How do I help Melissa with this? Well, I didn't know until another group of people was coming down, and it was an older woman, probably in her 60s, and she came up and she asked, "Are you guys okay?" And I said, "Heights." And she said, "Oh dear, I understand. Here's how you get up this path. You put your hand on the mountain. You put a hand in a friend, and you take a step. And you just do that one step at a time. Put a hand on the mountain, take the arm of a friend, and you take a step. And that's how you get there. Now I had gone forward a little ways to see what happens, what becomes of this path. So if you go to the next one, this is what eventually happens. It eventually levels out into two paths, a more rolling, pretty back to mountain fresh kind of a thing. But if you go back one, I don't know if you can go back. I can go back.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. But at that point, I ran up ahead to see that and was able to tell her it does level out, but we have to get through this. And my wife, tons of credit, because she had to have tremendous courage to take one step at a time. And so if you go to the next one, that's what eventually came up. By the way, there was another bit of this trail that also kind of came up, where this time it falls off on both sides, but not as steep. By that point, she had it in mind what it is that we need to do. Put a hand on the mountain, hand on a friend, and take a step. Go to the next slide. My wife's courage gave us this family picture, which is a treasure to me. Because if she had quit, we would not have gotten that. But she took the advice and she went through it. If you go to the next slide. I thought that was just such a beautiful picture of so much of God's Word. That for all of us who've been in those spaces where, Lord, increase my faith, and God's like, okay, cancer. Increase my faith, car accident, no finances. That is not what I asked for. No, he said, increase your faith. There is going to be a testing. Faith grows when it works, and it puts God's promises to the test. Test me in this and see if I won't throw open the floodgates of heaven, he says. Test me. But there will come testing, and there is going to be some times, and obviously you guys are all older, many of you older than me, and you've been through them just as I have been through them. And I hated going through them, but I'm so grateful that God saw us through, because it made my faith what it is today. Strengthened me to a point where I could help other people. And so I just love this picture. What is the Christian walk like, young person? What happens when we get afraid, friends? Maybe you can say it with me. We put a hand on the mountain. And we take the hand of a friend and we
take one step
at
a time.
And sometimes that's all we can do. And sometimes, as you all know, there'll be seasons where it's like that before it finally levels out. And maybe the level out is when God comes and takes us home to heaven. This song finally had a story that made sense. And so I'd like to sing that story for you guys now. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. The finish line seems far away. The road keeps going on and on till it seems to touch the sky. Will I have the strength to climb? And all I really want is to climb above the clouds, rise above the mess. When my life has been dragged down, to move beyond these childish ways into your guiding light. Oh, give me the strength to climb the mountain higher up. In the guiding hands of Jesus, you will see Him lift you up. This life's uncertain, but we know for sure the mountainside, and you tremble at the sight. Keep your eyes upon the prize. Through the storm cloud of your life, turn to me in times of strife. I am
In the guiding hands of Jesus, you will see Him lift you up. This life's uncertain. Know for sure that our faith in Jesus Christ will lead us to the Father's door. We climb the mountain higher up. In the guiding hands of Jesus, you'll see Him lift you up. This life's uncertain.